the cell to collapse on itself. You also would be without roads, if you will, to travel from one region intracellularly to another. So very, very important structures. They're nothing more than proteins. This is a beautifully dyed cell, simply showing you the three different cytoskeletal elements. The red out here, this would be the periphery of the cell. Outside, right inside the membrane of the cell, you have these actin filaments, the skinny ones, they're red. You have the big old fat microtubules, and this is not perfectly done here, but it's the structure there. You have the intermediate filaments, the ones middle in size, that are throughout the whole cell. These are also the ones that line the interior of the nucleus. In the interior of the nucleus, what are these intermediate filaments called?
Lamina.
Good try. No?
Well, lamina.
Lamins. And remember, it is the phosphorylation of the serine within the lamin that causes the breakup of that nuclear envelope. This side of the room is winning. You're losing. Okay, so anyway, we're going to really fly through here. So all we're trying to show in this picture for our purposes is that when you go to build any of these three cytoskeletal proteins, you have to start out with a few to get it nucleated. It's just like in chemistry. You have to have a nucleation event occurring. Once you get up to a certain point that's okay, then you'll be able to start adding on, and that is polymerization. You take it for what I'm giving. Don't try to match this with the legend. There's a lot more material here that we're not doing. So we nucleate, and then we polymerize. We also, at the same time, depolymerize. So if you notice, some of these dimers are going in to polymerize, but simultaneously others are coming off. That is depolymerization. And that's the beauty of it, because by stretching out and then being able to pull back, stretch out again, you have all these different paths that can be made inside the cell. This is going to be showing us simply that if you are a long stretch of proteins like this, you're not very strong. But if you can take that long stretch and you can have some kind of cross-hatching occur, then you're stronger. And remember, I'm using these pictures totally differently than what they're intended for. So don't try to match this up with the legend. So we cross-hatch it, and that makes it more stable. Okay, this is the weirdo. There are three, and the weirdo is the one in the middle. The one in the middle is the intermediate filament. It's not going to do the polymerization, depolymerization like actin, the skinny guy, and like microtubules, the fat guy do. Instead, the intermediate filaments are almost a rope-like in structure. And they don't really polymerize and depolymerize, at least not like the two, the big and the little guy. So why do we polymerize? Well, if you're an amoeba and you want to walk over here, you can do this thing where you have all of these actin filaments. You depolymerize, get all of these actin subunits loose inside your cytoplasm, and then have them reform over here. I assume we're headed that way. But you've seen that in freshman biology, when you see the amoeba creeping along. That's because of actin depolymerization and repolymerization. Okay, let's do the microtubules, and I have a feeling we're going to have to kind of blow off the other two. The big fat guys. We're going to build a microtubule. You must be able to build a microtubule. Very, very, very important. Okay, that's about the fourth thing I have dropped today. The least messy things. Okay, so very quickly. When you build a microtubule, you're going to start off with two subunits. And one is going to be called alpha, and one is going to be called beta. But this is not like important. They are actually alpha tubulin and beta tubulin. And I don't have his colors, I'm sorry. This is alpha tubulin. And it always hooks up with beta tubulin. So that's our basic unit when we start building a microtubule. This is the dimer, a heterodimer, because they're different. It's not two alphas. On each of those two subunits is a GTP. You know, that's the same thing as ATP, but it's one instead. So there's a GTP there, there's a GTP here. This is very, very, very important. On the alpha subunit, you never touch that. You never hydrolyze that. So it stays that. It's this forever. On the beta subunit, on the other hand, this will be hydrolyzed into GDP plus inorganic phosphate, and it will give us, same thing, like 11 to 14 kcals per mole. So although they each have GTP, only the beta subunit's GTP is hydrolyzable. So what we're going to do is take a whole string of these dimers and put them in a row. And when we do that, we're going to be forming something called a protofilament. So here we go. You got to pretend these are all touching. And a G. Ah. Woo. Okay, so alpha beta tubulin. When you get all of these in a row, you have made one protofilament. You're 1/13 of the way there to a microtubule. All right, now I'm going to show you on the pretty pictures like this. All right, so the real proteins, alpha and beta tubulin, of course, are all squirrely like that. That's all they're showing you. You put them together as a dimer. And this would be the equivalent of my blue, and that light green is the equivalent of my peach color. But that is one protofilament. You put 13 protofilaments together, and you have one microtubule. That is a cross section of one microtubule.
Is that 13 or 14?
13. 13. Now, the beta over here, remember that's the one that has the hydrolyzable GTP, is referred to as the plus end. The alpha tubulin end is the minus end. Plus, there's beta tubulin, minus, and it's alpha tubulin. The significance of the plus and the minus is that the plus end is faster growing. I thought this was kind of stupid, but just you need to know it. Okay, so one protofilament, one protofilament, one protofilament. 13 make a microtubule. You okay with that part?
With the length of the protofilament is important.
Not important at all, because we're going to constantly be adding on, taking off, adding on, taking off. Should I? Not important. You've got to get the microtubule down, because in a minute we're going to take microtubules and put them together to do a cross section of a cilium. Keep your circles straight in your head. This is a microtubule, another microtubule. These are plus ends. Okay, this is something that microtubules do. They elongate, shorten, elongate, shorten. There's a time frame over a period of, 10 minutes or so. And if you just pick out one microtubule and you look at it, like, say, the yellow one, number 3, is at that point, but then 2 minutes later, look how it has extended out over here. That is polymerization. The process is called dynamic instability. So when you hear the term dynamic instability, you realize you're talking about microtubules elongating, shortening, polymerizing, depolymerizing. Dynamic instability, that's probably on your outline. Dynamic instability, they're constantly doing that. If they didn't do that, we'd never be able to carry things around the cell and get them in the right location. So the roads have to be movable. Okay. There are drugs that will interfere with microtubules polymerization or depolymerization. The only one you're going to be responsible for knowing about is this one. On your outline, this is D as in dog, and there are 1, 2, 3 of them. This is number 3. Okay, this drug is very, very important, especially for those of you who are pre-med. Taxol is a compound that will mess up the microtubules. This is what the microtubules should look like. After this cell was given Taxol, look what happened to the microtubules. They're an absolute mess. So why do you want to mess up microtubules? Well, here's why. If you mess up the microtubules, you're going to mess up mitosis. Remember how you have the spindle microtubules pulling apart and stuff like that?
What was a cancer drug?
Yeah, it's a cancer drug. This is a cancer drug. And what it does is just make the microtubules so messed up that mitosis gets all screwed up. And the minute you have a problem with mitosis, your cell, theoretically, is going to kill itself, and that's apoptosis.
But that would affect any cell, yeah?
Yeah, it does. The kicker is that usually cancer cells are far more rapidly dividing than their normal cellular counterparts, healthy cell. And that's really what chemo is based on. That's why you inadvertently lose hair and chemo and stuff, because the good cells, you know, messed up too. Okay, so Taxol is this drug that messes up microtubules, hopefully causes that cell to kill itself, and hopefully that was a cancer cell. This is where it came from. I love this story. This is a Pacific yew tree, Y-E-W, not Y-O-U. Y-E-W, yew tree. And the old Indians, the Pacific Northwest Indians, whatever tribe that would have been, used that bark to treat people in their tribe who had growths, and we assumed they were cancerous growths. And then when they started checking into it, they realized that this was Taxol. Taxol was in that bark of the yew tree. And this was the only tree that had it, and they started cutting down those trees pretty badly to purify this Taxol and use it to treat cancer. And then they, of course, came up with the recombinant, which is what you're looking at here in a laboratory. Thank goodness, there's still trees left. The Taxol is something that interferes with microtubules, and the cancer treatment drug, because it will interfere with mitosis. And specifically the microtubules and mitosis.
Dr. Knight,
Mm-hmm.
over here.
No, over there. Okay.
Just short and sweet, do they have to use the liposomes for that as well, or is that like a, I know we can't go there, I know, but
No, they don't have to.
they don't have to.
And what you're referring to is like Adrian Moss. Yeah, that's the red devil that stings like crazy. Taxol is paclitaxel, and it's not, it doesn't have its side effect. So you can just infuse it straight into a vein. Very good question. But to my knowledge, I've not had chemo, but to my knowledge, paclitaxel is not like Adrian Moss. Very good question. Okay, so this is the home from which all microtubules grow. Each microtubule, which is made up of 13 protofilaments, originates